It is well understood that the gigantic social media platforms hold a massive sway over the internet. They control what you can and can't say, what you can and can't share, but because of this, they also receive massive public scrutiny. Now, you might think, okay, we'll just go and make an alternative. Now, there's one problem here. Movements and businesses need funding, and the less talked about problem is the payment processors. And I would argue that companies like Stripe, PayPal, MasterCard, Visa, all hold way more power than any social media platform like Facebook could ever dream of having, because these companies are what allow you to even spend your money on the internet. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm going to consider things like payment processors, payment gateways, and payment aggregators all to be basically the same thing. They are different, there are technical differences, but they're all part of the exact same problem. So what prompted me to make this video is this article I saw 2 weeks ago from the EFF. Now, I was originally planning this to be a more timely video, but it sort of slipped my mind, and we're doing it now. PayPal shuts down longtime Tor supporter with no recourse. So this is a story about Larry Brandt, who is a longtime supporter of internet freedom and used his nearly 20-year-old PayPal account basically for one purpose, and that purpose was funding Tor nodes. I'll leave a link in the description down below explaining in detail what Tor is, but in short, these Tor nodes are used to route internet traffic in order to safeguard privacy and avoid country-level censorship. But back in March of 2021, he received this message right here, basically saying, hey, we're going to hold your money for 180 days. After that, well, we'll email you about how to withdraw it, but until then, you go away. One of the reasons why you should never leave any money in your PayPal account, if it does get banned, you just won't be able to take it out. He tried to do the right thing and tried to get some sort of feedback from PayPal saying, I tried to contact them many times by email and phone. PayPal never responded to either. They have an online resolution center, but I never had a dialogue with anyone there either. Now, PayPal's terms do say that they don't have to actually disclose details to its users, but even so, that's a pretty scummy way to handle something. Now, in my cases of using the Resolution Center, they've been fairly positive, but I haven't had an experience where I've been banned. It's more like I have some details wrong that for some reason I couldn't update through my PayPal account. I had to contact them. For stuff like that, they seem to be perfectly fine. But I would have to guess they act differently with people they no longer want to do business with. Now, according to him, he did not receive any warning about what he was doing whatsoever. It was just suddenly shut down. Enjoy the rest of your day. He says, good customer service and common sense would have suggested that they call me and discuss my PayPal activities, or at least send me an email to tell me to stop. Then the company would be better equipped to make an informed decision about banning. But I think customer service is not so much in their best interests. The EFF says that Brandt shared his PayPal transaction logs with the EFF legal team, and they've reviewed these transactions in depth and found no evidence of wrongdoing which would warrant shutting down his accounts, and then communicated these concerns with PayPal. And the vast majority of the payments that he actually made were just for servers running the Tor nodes. Now, I haven't seen these transaction logs myself. They're not public. They were just shared with the legal team. But I don't think the EFF is an untrustworthy organization, so I'm going to take their word at face value. The only comment that PayPal gave the EFF is the situation has been determined appropriately, and refused to give any sort of specific explanation, and still have not reinstated his account. The Tor project, on the other hand, did provide a comment. This is the first time we've heard about financial persecution for defending internet freedom in the Tor community. We're very concerned about PayPal's lack of transparency, and we urge them to reinstate this user's account. Now that he's been banned from PayPal, it's not like he's just going to go and stop funding the Tor network. There are other ways that he can pay for these servers, whether that be through a credit card, or if the server provider accepts crypto, he could use that as well. So while being banned by one of the payment processors isn't a major problem, it's kind of inconvenient, but you can kind of live without it. There's only maybe one hand's worth of payment processors that are widely supported, and if you're banned from all of them, well, now you just cannot use your money. Regardless of whether you like these people or not, there have been instances of political figures having every payment processor ban them even if that person didn't even use their service because there's just a vendetta against that person. This is the sort of power held by a payment processor. That doesn't mean that a payment processor just shouldn't be able to ban anyone. There are some instances where, hey, maybe it makes sense to ban someone. Let's say you're funding some overseas war, or maybe you're using PayPal to do human trafficking. Things like this, things that are actually bad and in most cases, probably illegal. But the EFF calls on PayPal to make the way they ban people far more transparent and adopt something known as the Santa Clara principles. This would require PayPal publishing a transparency report showing things like how many people were banned because of government requests, how many people were banned because of TOS violations, what TOS did they actually violate, things like this, as well as showing things like how many suspicious activity reports they actually file and what sort of activity is considered suspicious. Now, it's not like this would be difficult for them to do, because internally, they would already be collecting this information, and other services like Coinbase are already doing this. Also providing meaningful notice to the users, so if PayPal is going to shut your account down, actually giving you a warning email telling you what you've actually done wrong, like, hey, is it against PayPal's TOS now to fund Tor nodes? Okay, we're going to tell you that. And actually providing evidence of the violation that has occurred, rather than just being like, oh, well, you're banned, go on with the rest of your life. There are going to be some situations where this information can't be shared, like let's say there's some like ongoing legal investigation, but outside of that one scenario, they should have to tell you. Also adopting a meaningful appeals process, so if your account is banned, but you didn't actually violate the TOS, that you have some way to get your account unbanned. Now, with this appeal, they need to be human reviewed, and they need to be human reviewed by someone different from the person who actually banned you. That's basically to ensure that there isn't some bias from the original banner. You should also have the ability to present additional information that may provide context that wasn't actually available to PayPal. So there was someone who actually had their PayPal account suspended because they wrote an article about Syria, and during that time, PayPal was just auto-blocking anything that had Syria in its name. But this was just an article about Syria, not sending money to Syria. Now, you might be in the camp that thinks that crypto is just going to be the solution to all of these problems. Personally, I don't think it's going to work like that. I do think that crypto is a decent band-aid, but it's not a solution, at least in the current way that crypto is handled. So I don't think that crypto is ever going to be like a widely used currency. Most countries treat it like an asset, and because it's treated like an asset, there are really high taxes applied to it, and it just makes it really inconvenient to actually use. But we didn't always use money to buy things. There was previously a barter system, so maybe we go back to something like that, but I don't think that's going to be the case. My problem with crypto being touted as a solution is, how do you acquire crypto? Unless you like do back alley trades, handing over cash, swapping over Bitcoin wallets, the way you're going to acquire it is through digital money, and we're back to the payment processor issue. Yes, you can mine Bitcoin, but that's incredibly inefficient. So the only way that I see crypto being the solution is if everything is done with crypto and you don't touch the traditional finance system whatsoever. Maybe I'm wrong, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But as I said, crypto is a band-aid, so if you get banned from PayPal and then use your credit card to go and buy some Bitcoin, well, now you own some Bitcoin and you can use that to trade for things. The payment processors hold all the power online. Sure, things like YouTube, Facebook, Twitter are all evil in their own right, but at the end of the day, you can't make an alternative unless you can actually fund it. So I think that's going to be basically everything for me, and before I go, I would like to thank my supporters. So a special thank you to Joachim, Donald, Logan, Michael, Andre, Nathan, David, Carl, Mitchell, Will, Brennan, Chico Bento, Jamie, Joseph, Josh, Peter D, Stephen, Tease, Through, Tony Tushar, and all of my $2 supporters. If you'd like to go and support work, the links down below to my Patreon, subscribe, start, leave a that sort of stuff. I've got my podcast, Tech Over Tea, available basically anywhere. I've got a gaming channel called Brodie Robertson Plays, where I play games twice a week, and also upload YouTube shorts, which are like cut down versions of my stream. And I also upload these videos over on Odyssey. That'll be everything for me, and